Welcome to Create, Build, Manage, the Entrepreneur's Toolbox.
Welcome to Create, Build, Manage on BizTV. I'm Kelli Phillips. Today, Roy Yabuki is here to tell us about his work with international students and the impact that they can have on their destinies and the rest of the world. Stick around. We'll be right back with more Create, Build, Manage. After a career as an engineer, he transitioned to ministry nearly 30 years ago. His passion is creating spaces for people to embark on adventures intended by God and discover their potential. Please welcome Roy Yabuki. And
Hi.
Roy, give us a little bit of your background, where you grew up, what life was like, and what you're doing today.
Well, I grew up in Southern California. My parents were international students way back in the 1950s, and we lived in a multicultural kind of situation. So it was always kind of part of our DNA to be around different types of people and mixing cultures and different things. And so when we heard about the opportunity to work with international students, at first I was a little bit anxious, my parents were a little bit awkward at times, but then as I got to know students and stuff, I began to realize this is an opportunity to really show an amazing group of people Jesus' love. And so we did that, and it was so rewarding and so much fun. And so going from an engineering career to this, I just felt like this was the right thing for us. We were enjoying investing in people as much as instead of things that eventually go away. As an engineer, I have several patents and stuff like that. And within 2 or 3 years, it has no more value. But this is, you're talking about eternity. You're talking about at least a lifetime, if not the eternity, if not eternity with these students. And so it's so much fun. And we have friends all over the world. And I was talking to my wife about it yesterday, and we know students from almost every country outside of maybe North Korea and maybe Cuba. No, we know someone from Cuba. Anyway, it's such an adventure and a joy, and to help others to do the same is just really fun.
And when students come here internationally, they kind of feel lost, don't they?
Sure. It's, it's interesting. They initially arrive and they're really excited. Everything is new. It's what they dreamed about. And then they arrive. And I don't know if you've ever been to other countries for a long period of time, but everything is different. Everything that was familiar is not familiar anymore. Whether it's going to the bank or going to the market or even spending money, period.
Right.
It's totally different. And so, they've got that, they went from a certain situation, and some of them never traveled away from their home ever.
This is their first time to be away.
Even on an airplane. We've had a few students, this is their first time on an airplane. And so, yeah, and a lot of times, us Americans, we don't know what to do with them. And so a lot of times they feel like, they feel like I'm alone, and I'm in a new situation, and so a lot of times they do feel very lonely and very isolated and needy. And
I think that's a good word, isolated from everything that they've known. But yet, what you're doing is you're showing them the love that is wherever you go, aren't you?
Yes. There's 1 million international students here right now, from about 190 countries. And yeah, I believe that God brought them here for a reason. A lot of them come from places where they never get a chance to see Jesus' love lived out. And so, we have a lot of followers of Jesus here. And hopefully we're living that love every day. And so to let the people who don't know about the students and to get them together with students who need encouragement, need love, need someone who's going to be there for them, just seems like a no-brainer. And so, yeah, we do what we can to try to make those things happen. What makes us different than typical campus ministry is that we focus on international students, but also we make it a point to work with churches and individuals to equip them to be the ones that show that love to the students.
Do you think your background really helped form what you're doing now because you saw what your parents went through?
Sure. I think there's an element of that. I think probably the biggest part of my background that helps is we've always been in the middle. I'm not fully typical American, whatever that means. and I'm not fully in the culture my parents are from. I don't speak the language that well. And, if I were there, they would know right away that I'm not a typical Japanese person. And so knowing how to being the bridge is natural. In fact, at first it's uncomfortable when you're younger, but as you grow older, you begin to realize this is an opportunity to really be that bridge for people who are going through it now. And so, and it helps with Americans to let them know this is what they're going through. They're going through this process and they love it for a while. All that stuff I was talking about before, it helps to be able to give firsthand examples of what it might be like for them. And so,
talk a little bit about some of your experiences with the international students that you have mentored, if you will.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just the other day, my wife and I were at the baby shower of one of our friends. He's from South Asia. Well, his name is Shri, and his wife is Odessa, and I got to perform their Christian wedding years ago, a few years ago. And it was so neat to see him there. He's currently a entrepreneur who started a cybersecurity business. And he's given back by working with the universities in his country to start programs in cybersecurity, teach their people how to do the things that he's learned. And so, but it was amazing to think back, it wasn't always like that. I remember picking him up from the airport, and he was a typical kind of confident, he wanted to be the next Steve Jobs or Donald Trump or whatever. And he was very young. Let's put it that way. We have a big welcome party for international students. There's at one of the campuses in Texas, they've had up to 2,000 international students come. That's how we first meet a lot of the students that we don't pick up from the airport. And he came to that, and we have a home gathering where every week international students could find a safe place to be where they're valued.
And feel like home.
Right.
As opposed to being alone.
Right. And a lot of them come from cultures where they see their parents every day. It's natural. They love it. It's not like here where we want to try to separate ourselves from our parents. A lot of these students call their parents twice a day. I mean, that's the kind of relationships they have. And so to have a safe place where they're valued and they are supported, and regardless of their religion, their race, or their nation, that's what we want to create.
We're all one.
Right. In a home somewhere, which is not on campus, because, being stuck on a lot of these students, at least in our area, we don't have mass transit.
Right.
And so, they're stuck on campus. And so this gives them a chance to see an American home. 80% of the students apparently have never, in their whole time in America, don't get a chance to go to American Home, which is crazy when you think about it.
They're living in a dorm room and it's a little cracker box.
Yeah, and there's no chance for them to
interact.
So we, our friend Shri came to this group, and one of the things we offer, we do everything we can to help students. And a lot of us are followers of Jesus, so we believe God answers prayers. And, and we've seen him answer prayers lots of times, even in this group. And so we offered the students the opportunity to share things that they want us to pray for. And students from all over, every race, every religion, really, after they see God answer prayers, they're not afraid to ask. Well, this is the first time that Shri came, and he was going through some real difficult things. He had found out his grandmother, who raised him, was critically ill back in his country. And so he was just, really beside himself and very feeling isolated and alone. He came to us and said, "This is my need. Can you pray for me?" And so we did. And the amazing thing is, the next week he came back and he said, This is amazing. My grandmother got better, and she's already out of the hospital now. And so, that same week he had another prayer request, and it was just fun to watch. And then that really kind of cemented our relationship and his interest in spiritual things. But we began to be, him and I became really good friends. We met on a regular basis. We talked about
everything under the sun.
Yeah, difference in our culture.
I want to ask you so many more questions, but we've got to take a quick break if you don't mind. Stick around and we'll be right back. We're back with Roy Yabuki to talk more about international students, and you were telling me a little bit more about the student that you have come to grow really close to, but he's not the only one, is he?
No. There are many more. I could tell so many stories about even this year, the current group. They're actually graduating this Saturday. There's a group of about 5 or 6 that are just, they're like, we are family.
What does it do for you inside?
Personally, it's very rewarding because we get to see God work in their lives, and we get to see God work in the volunteers' lives. I've seen volunteers who, they went to an event, they said, "We don't like international people," and then they serve the students, they get to know them. And one of my friends told me that afterwards, it's like, I came here not liking international people, and all of a sudden, getting to talk to them, I realized they are amazing people, and these are the kind of people we want in America. And it was just, so we have all kinds of people, relationships, and students and
is there a language barrier that you find? Do a lot of these students come over and they have no earthly idea or just a little bit of English that they know?
Well, the majority of them, to be able to go to a U.S. university, they have to know English at a very high level.
Okay.
University level. And in fact, the majority of them are graduate students, so they have to at least have that level of English. And so, outside of a few, outside of some accents and different things that you have to overcome, which takes some time and a little bit different spelling sometimes, it's not a problem. And you just have to be willing to learn and listen and really, carefully speak to at times. But it's not a problem. And so, what
are some of the different events that you host?
Well, I talked about airport pickups. I talked about, we have this Big Howdy party that in Texas, it's called the Big Howdy party. Other places it's called other things, depending on what state they're in. You're not going to say Big Howdy
in Iowa.
Yeah. Or Massachusetts or something. They'd be offended.
Yes.
But we often connect American families with students to be kind of like a mentor to them when they first come. These home groups, what they're like is we have meals. We have a time of kind of sharing, getting to know each other. And then we divide up into groups where there'll be questions and they answer questions. It's like a discussion time, kind of like what we're doing here.
Right.
But they have a choice between an English discussion. For those who are interested, we offer the opportunity to discover about the Bible, about Jesus, because a lot of them come from countries where they don't even know who Jesus is.
Right.
They've heard this. You ask them about this name and they ask, who is that guy? And so it's very interesting. And so they get to see the Jesus that we live. They get to discover more about him in this group. And so it's really, they can explore for themselves what they, what they're interested in. And they get to feel loved and be appreciated. So there's that. Furniture, we provide furniture for them. A lot of them come with just their big suitcases and they eventually sit on their suitcases and trunks or not trunks anymore, but
it used to be.
Yeah, in the old days. But so it's, that's another type of thing. We do whatever, if we see a need, we provide it. One of the groups, we have 2 home groups at our local campus at UT Arling. I think there's about 6,000 students there. One of the groups during COVID, they realized, students are stuck in their dorm. They're getting food delivered, but barely enough. There's no way to get snacks. So what they did was they didn't, go into the dorms, which they couldn't.
Right.
But they would bring packages and knock on the door, and every student was getting a package of food, of fun things. And so our volunteers are really creative. How
do people volunteer for the organization?
Well, it's someone, you find out about ISI locally, but there's our website, internationalstudentswithan.org, internationalstudentswithan.org. It shows all the different campuses we're on and the different staff. We have about almost 500 staff around the country, and we're on about 700 campuses, somewhere around there. It changes. 700 campuses all over the U.S. So there's probably a good chance there's one nearby each, your viewers. And so there's a real neat opportunity actually right now especially, I think this program was focused on entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Right now we have a program. We just started a program where we're helping believing students start kingdom-oriented businesses to really impact their country. They might see a need. A lot of these guys are engineers and maybe agriculture people, and they don't know how to start a business. And so we started this seminar to help them to learn the ropes on that. And we need people who can be mentors for them, because if you don't know what you're doing, this is, you need
another entrepreneur to be able to teach entrepreneurship.
Exactly. And so, that's a really new but awesome opportunity for people to be involved, to take their things that they love and pass it on to someone else and international students. And so, even as much as we meet them and we do Bible studies and help them to grow as followers of Jesus, we also are looking for what happens afterwards. And this is one of those things. We have another thing called World Changers, where we help students discover that they could make a difference in their country. And so that, out of that came this thing where people said, we want to start something. And so we realized we need to have another thing that allows them to put the nuts and bolts to the ideas that they start to develop in this World Changer.
What does that mean to you? I mean, watching these people who have been recipients that now in turn go, you know what? I was given good, and I have learned about Jesus through these people, but I want to do this in my country and I want to continue that.
Yes, it's what we do, why we do this. I mean, we want people to see Christ's love everywhere in the world. And for them to see it in their context, they know their situation. I remember one of the girls in the NGO Go program first year, when she first came here, she saw a woman in her country as she was walking through the city in Africa. And she walked by one time, she saw a need. This lady was on the floor begging, I guess. And she went to where she was going, didn't do anything the first time because she had to do something. She came back and the lady was gone. And she had found out that this woman had passed away in the time that she was gone. And it just captured her heart that there are, a lot of food insecurities. There's a lot of issues in their country, especially women. And there wasn't anyone to provide. So she decided she wanted to start a nonprofit, a kingdom entrepreneurship, I guess, that could go out and make a difference for that particular segment. And so she worked through all the things, took the idea and turned it into a plan. And now she's starting to work towards that plan. And so it's not just, initially it was an idea. Even for us, it was an idea that we want students to make a difference. But then to see them to give them the ability to actually do it is such a blessing. And so, but for volunteers, they get to see the same things as they mentor, as they get to know these students, as they see, a lot of these, I've had volunteers come back and say, we met this student 40 years ago and we're still in contact with them. Yeah, they come to our house, if they're still here, they come to our house every year and they, actually we have a couple that comes every year and drops off some sort of Christmas thing with their kids and we get to meet them. And it's just community lived out. It's the way, in many ways, as the Bible talks about, that life should be. And
again, that website real quick.
International Students with an S at the end, .org.
Roy, thanks so much for coming by. We really appreciate you coming by and sharing your story, and hopefully you will get many more volunteers.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And we'll be right back. Thanks for joining me today for BizTV's Create, Build, Manage.
Episodes of Create, Build, Manage are available on demand on the free BizTV streaming app. Visit watch.biztv.com and get BizTV programming anytime, anywhere.
Stay tuned to BizTV for more stories that educate, enlighten, and empower.